All right, I wanted to show my abrasive wet blasting setup that I got. This is just a cheap $30 one from Amazon, and it works amazing. You do have to have a pretty decent pressure washer to make it work, but if you already have a pressure washer, this is a great way to go. I just searched like abrasive wet blaster on Amazon, and there was like 20 different companies selling essentially the same thing, where it's this piece that just fits onto the end of your pressure washer gun, and it has like an inlet tube that goes and it sucks up sand from a hopper. You have like a big just a stainless steel tube that you shove down in the sand, and you stick that in there, turn on the pressure washer, and it just keeps sucking up sand and blast the paint or whatever you want off anything. This works way faster than my I have a pressure tank sand blaster that I thought was pretty good, but after using that I'll probably never touch it again. I've been having to remove all like this bed liner tar junk that's on here, and it just eats right through it. It does leave a mild amount of surface rust on it when you're done, but it's way better than what I was dealing with before. And I mean, for what I'm doing, this surface rust is just fine. If you were doing like a really high-end project, you may need something nicer, but I should be able to weld through this and paint it up just fine. One thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing this is that your sand needs to stay nice and dry. If it gets wet at all, it will not work. I bought some sand that came in like the clear plastic bags at Home Depot. Like, it's called a play sand or a paver sand, and it was too moist and didn't work at all. So I had to get the big paper bagged silver sand, and that's perfectly dry and seems to work great. You also want to put it in like a bucket or a trash can with a lid on it. I just got this old trash can so I can pour several bags in at once and let it run, and I don't have to stop every 5-10 minutes and fill it up. I just cut a little hole in the side for the wand to go through, and I can fill it up, and it seems to work great. You do need a pretty decent pressure washer to run this. I think any gas pressure washer would be just fine. The electric ones probably aren't going to cut it. It does make a giant mess of sand everywhere, and you get absolutely covered in sand and you feel like you've been at the beach. But it's just what it is. I do highly recommend wearing some decent respirator, and then the hearing protection, just so that the sand doesn't get like all in your ears. I was doing this yesterday and laying in bed last night. I kept picking sand out of my ears. It was kind of nasty. So the hearing protection deals with that. I'm wearing the respirator just because I don't want to get silicosis, which is basically silica dust. If you breathe in a lot of it, it can damage your lungs pretty bad and mess you up. With the wet blasting, because as it is coming out in a big stream and engulfing the sand particle, you shouldn't have that issue. I probably don't need to wear a respirator, but better safe than sorry. And it's nice just to cover my mouth so I don't get sand all blasted in my mouth. You do get a lot of sand blowing back at you, and it does kind of hurt, but it's not too bad. So one downside, it's way better than the dry blasting. Trying to think any other notes or tips about it. I was using like a charcoal abrasive material at first, and it was pretty expensive, and it seemed to work just fine. But I tried out this sand because it's way cheaper, and it also works just great. There's no like small orifice that it needs to go through about like a 1/4 inch size orifice. So you can use a pretty large size grain. I wouldn't worry about sifting out the sand beforehand or anything like that. I think like a decomposed granite would probably be too much for it. So stick with a sand or something about that size. But yeah, can't recommend this enough. Way better than normal dry blasting.